have the roll call. Call the meeting to order.
Benton,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Hart,
Here.
Haynes, Hodge,
Here.
Latour,
Here.
McDonald, Thomas, Vickers,
Present.
Vogel,
Here.
Whitaker. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Have the motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the last meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes as presented from last month's meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes be accepted. Let's have the roll call vote.
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald, Thomas, Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Before we start and reading the consent agenda, I would like to know if there's any commissioner that would like to recuse from any item on the consent agenda or approval.
Point of information. Director,
Colin.
do I need to recuse from the first one there? Since it's on consent agenda?
Yes, since the one item is on the consent deferral, I would say yes.
Okay, then I will recuse.
Okay, and that's on which item is that?
That is for Z5817L for clarification.
On the consent deferral, okay. Point of clarification, since that's a consent deferral, that does not require him to leave at all, does it?
No, since it's not going to be heard, it can just stay for the vote.
Thank you very much. Let's have a reading of the consent agenda.
This is the consent agenda for March 9th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Number one, items on consent deferral. Item A, Z5817L, Cantrell West Retail Center, PCD, 15122 Cantrell Road. The applicant failed to send notifications to surrounding property owners as required. Staff recommends the application be deferred to the April 13, 2023 agenda. Item number two, Z9756, Gregory Duplex, conditional use permit, 819 West 32nd Street. The applicant failed to send notifications to surrounding property owners as required. Staff recommends the application be deferred to the April 13th, 2023 agenda. Item 12, Z9760, Reading Properties, short-term rental, PCD, 1117 Kavanaugh Boulevard. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on February 21st, 2023, requesting this application be deferred to the June 8th, 2023 agenda. Staff supports the deferral request. 13, Z9761, McGrath 1, short-term rental, PCD, 407 North Van Buren Street. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on February 21st, 2023, requesting this application be deferred to the June 8th, 2023 agenda. Staff supports the deferral request. Item 14, Z9762, McGrath 2, short-term rental, PCD, 710 Beechwood Street. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on February 21st, 2023, requesting this application be deferred to the June 8th, 2023 agenda. Staff supports the deferral request. Continuing on consent deferral, page 2, item 16, Z9765, tract 404, Chenal Valley, PCD, northeast corner of Highway 10 and Morgan Cemetery Road. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on February 16th, 2023, requesting this application be deferred to the April 13th, 2023 agenda. Staff supports the deferral request. Number 2, items on consent approval. Item 1, Z8061B, Southern Magnolia House, Office, Conditional Use Permit, 1301 Cumberland Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 3, Z9764, Bear Den Estates Neighborhood Park, conditional use permit, 6 Bear Valley Circle. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 4, Z3371-HHH, rezoning from C3 to C4, 600 Colonel Glenn Plaza Loop. Staff recommends approval of the requested C4 zoning, subject to the south 50 feet of the overall site remaining zoned OS. Item 5, Z5093B, rezoning from C2 to C3, 317 South Shackelford Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested C3 zoning. Item 7, Z3125C, Whitewater Tavern, PDC, 2507 West 7th Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning, subject to the compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D and E, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Continuing the consent agenda, page 3, item 9, Z5257B, Markham Vernon LLC, PCD, 2623 West Markham Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD zoning, subject to the compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 10, Z6323BB, Lot 5, the Village at Rawling Road, revised PCD, west side of Rawling Circle, 225 feet south of Rawling Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D, E, and F, and the analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 11, Z7807870B, King Seasonal Fireworks Sales, revised PCD, 23,800 Highway 10. Staff recommends approval of the requested revised PCD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 15, Z9763, Vasquez Short-Term Rental, PDC, 308 South Woodrow Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. That concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
I'd like to have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we accept the consent agenda subject to all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for roll call vote?
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Abstain.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas, Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Whitaker. Motion passes.
Thank you. If your item was on the consent agenda, it's been approved, you're welcome to stay with us and enjoy the rest of the evening, or you can go. Thank you very much. We're now moving to our regular agenda. First item.
Yes, Chair, would you like to take the regular agenda items as they appear on regular? 8 and 18 came off.
Yes.
All right, so we'll start with the first item on regular is item 6. Mr. Malone will read the minutes, read the staff report for this item.
Yes.
Mr. Chair and Commission, my name is Walter Malone, Planning Staff. I'll be doing the Land Use Plan Amendment, and per normal, we'll read the zoning item, and then usually we do them together, and then you take your comments for both items at the same time and do separate votes. I'm assuming we're going to do it that way, which is our normal way. We've done it in the past. This is a Land Use Plan Amendment on Geyer Springs Road, just north of Mapleville Cutoff Road. This is it's part of Little Rock that's been partially developed for many years. It was annexed into the city in the mid to late 1960s, and it's been shown, this area has been shown, and the east side of Geyer Springs Road has been shown as residential low density for many decades now, and is also zoned R2 single family. There's a large, as you can see on the map, area of commercial that's across the street at the corner of Mapleville Cutoff Road and Geyer Springs Road that's been vacant for decades also, and zoned for both C2 and C3 zoning, and currently has a for sale sign on it. There is residential high density just off this map further to the west for a large apartment complex with a few small lots in front of that, which have some commercial on the land use plan, and a couple of them are also zoned commercially. The area has not seen much development in the last couple of decades, little to no development, and little to no zoning activity in this area. There is available both commercial and residential land in the general area. Staff does not see a need for additional commercial in this area, and we do not support commercial, at least on this side of Geyer Springs Road at this time, since it has historically been residential, and there are residential structures in the immediate area. So we would oppose the change of the land use plan from residential low to commercial.
Any commissioner have any questions to ask of Ms. Malone? Okay. We had 4 cards in opposition. The first is Douglas Hunter. No, I'm sorry, no. We had no cards. That is my error.
Chair, we still need to make our staff's presentation on the next item.
Yeah.
Because it follows, and then when we take our vote, we'll take 2 separate votes, one for the land use and then one for the zoning.
Okay. With 6.1.
Yes, sir. This is a rezoning from R2 to C4, located at 10305 Geyer Springs Road. The applicant requests to rezone the 1.25 acre property located at 10305 Geyer Springs Road from R2 Single Family District to C4 Open Display District to allow development of an auto sales business. The applicant, this is a existing one-story frame single-family residence. It's located within the west half of the property, approximately 44 feet back from the Geyer Springs Road frontage, a 1-car driveway from the Geyer Springs Road. It's located near the northwest corner of the property. The remainder of the property is undeveloped, Undeveloped property and single-family residences zoned R2 are located north, south, and east of the subject property. Undeveloped C2 and C3 zone property is located to the west at the northwest corner of Guyer Springs Road and Mapleville Cutoff. Additional single-family residences are located further west and northwest. The city's future land use plan designates this property as RL, residential low density. An application to amend the future land use plan from RL to C, commercial, is a separate item on this agenda. Staff is not supportive of the requested C4 zoning. The future land use plan designates this property and all the surrounding properties to the north, south, and east as RL, residential low density. The site is located in an area which is single-family residential in character and not at a major intersection or a developed commercial area. Staff believes that the subject property is not an appropriate site to introduce commercial zoning along the east side of Guyer Springs Road. Staff recommends denial of the requested C4 zoning.
Is the applicant present?
Are you the applicant?
I'm not the applicant. My name was called. I'm Hunter Douglas.
I did.
Mr. Douglas?
I'm the opposition.
Okay. Usually the chair will explain, but we hear from the applicant first.
Yes, sir.
And then the opposition.
Well, I just
And so-
heard my name, so I dumbly got up.
Yes, sir, we understand. We'll call you in a minute. Did you call for the applicant?
Yes, I did. Before you start, we used to give the applicant and the opposition equal amounts of time to present their case, 20 minutes. If you want to defer to the opposition first and come back, you may, or you may go ahead and proceed.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you.
Is it working?
Okay, it's working now.
Okay, good afternoon first, everybody. I heard what he said, and my name is Nora Castaneda. I'm talking in behalf of my husband, and I'm here to talk about why we're trying to get our property changed from residential to commercial. We feel like there is no other auto sales on this street. And well, now I want to share that we bought this property and we worked so hard to rebuild it. We had to pass the proper inspection. We invested money and a lot of time on it with a purpose, and that is to have a family business. We are aware that this is a residential area, but there is also a commercial land across the street already. And next to us, there's another empty land, and to the other side too. Since we have been working so hard, and now we just are asking for the opportunity to make this property commercial, to establish a used auto sales lot. We are not planning on making any changes to the property unless it's something that is required in order to get the dealer's license. We are planning on having this car lot. We want to have 10 to 12 cars for sale. We are not doing any repair or detailing. It's gonna be only car sales. And we want to have the hours of operation as Monday to Saturday, 9 p.m. to 5 p.m. Well, I don't know what else to say. That's all I have to say.
Do any commissioner have any questions of the applicant? If not,
I have a quick question. All right, Chair.
yes, sir.
So there's an existing structure on the property, a dwelling. Is that something that is used right now, or is that something that is not being lived in?
No, it's not being used. We're going to use the building as the office.
And is that the improvement you're saying you've made to the?
Oh, yes, we did a lot of work on it. It was condemned when we bought it. We had to pass inspection. We've built all the inside. We rebuilt it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, commissioners on WebEx or in person? Okay, let's go ahead and hear from the opposition, and then we'll give you a chance to come back up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hunter, you can come now.
For the record, my last name is Douglas. I'm Hunter Douglas.
Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry.
Happens all the time. I don't know why, but it does. I oppose this for two main reasons. One is that we are a residential neighborhood, and I own more than one lot here. Matter of fact, mine amounts to 10 acres. And if we're going to go commercial, of course, it will affect me drastically. And I need to know more about the plans that the city might have about something like that. But I think that this is a kind of a personal spur of the moment thing. And it's my observation that what they have done already is lowered the values in the neighborhood. And I'll try to give an explanation of that briefly. My address is on Rinky Road, which turns off of Geyer Springs toward the east, right down the street from them. My property goes north from Rinky along their east line. They are my neighbor across the line on their rear line, their east, my west. And then my property is L-shaped, and it goes out to Geyer Springs Road on their north line. So I am adjacent to them as a property owner on two sides, their north side and their east side. They have not enhanced the value of my property. I think it was early May, I found, may have been the last of April, I found a tree that they had cut down and left on my property. And I have a picture here today, if anyone wants to see it, of the rut that it left when we picked that tree up. And I did have to move it. And I have a picture of the oil that was poured out on the ground from the automotive operations that they're doing in the backyard of this house in two buildings. And there is an ongoing automotive operation of some kind. And we have pictures today to show you, if you want to see them, of car parts laying all over across the place. And I don't know where they sell the parts or the cars or whatever it is that they do, but it's an active operation, and there's people in and out of there all the time. The trees that have been cut down, I helped remove some of them off of the Nobles property, which is their south line, and I removed the ones off of my line. And somewhere in this story, I ought to say that when they took over the property, the first thing they did was take down a fence that I know has been between their property and mine for 40 years, and they took it down with no notification of me. And as far as I know, that denoted the property line between me and them. And I can go on with this, but if you have any questions of me, I'm ready.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Hunter? Mr. Douglas, excuse me? Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Pam Noble?
Hi, I'm Pam Noble. My husband and I own the property to the south of this piece of property. And the house is being occupied. I've spoken with a young man that says he stays at the property. Also, they hired someone to cut trees down. The trees fell on our property and destroyed several of our trees, and they just left the debris and the trees. I happened to see this occur with the tree cutting company there and talked with him, and they didn't give him any advice as to where to drop them. He assumed that where he was dropping them was their property. So therefore, I filed a police report online stating the damage and that it needed to be cleared. And they finally did clear it off, mostly, but they left a portion still on the property line. And I was having the property surveyed to have a fence up and had to send them a letter notifying them that they needed to move that debris so the surveyor could access the property properly. And as Mr. Douglas stated, it's kind of in disarray in the back. They've put a workshop in the back, and there has been work being done, and mostly at night and weekends.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Ms. Walker? Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Noble.
Troy Leahy?
No, Noble, N-O-B-L-E.
No, ma'am, I was calling the next person
Oh,
up.
the next person? Okay.
Yes. Huh? Troy Leahy? Huh? Who's that? Okay, Ms. Walker, go ahead.
Well, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak on this issue. Now, this property at 10305 Guy Springs Road, I was understanding it was rezoned from an R2 to a C4, which the residents of this neighborhood does not approve. I oppose of this here location for business because it would bring down the value of our property. At Southwest Little Rock, our property value had dropped, and it's back up now. With this car lot being placed there at that address, would bring our property value down. And I understand others want to start a business, but this here is just not a good location for it. I don't think anywhere on Guy Springs, period, is a good location for a car lot, no matter what size it is. We got plenty of other areas in the city that you can maybe more feasible to put a car lot than on Guy Springs Road. And also, you got children that walks that little side road there and going home into the back to Republican Independent Lane, and it's just not a good place to be. It really isn't. And I noticed contents, and she said they had invested a lot of money already with this property, but it seemed like to me, some things must not have been approved for them to go forward with that. I'm not for sure, but that's what we're here for tonight. And Yorkwood Association, we got St. Monica, Facts, and I'm not aware of any of these neighborhoods receiving letters from the applicant stating what their intents are. So I just wanted to voice my opinion. I oppose of this location for a car lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Troy Leahy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Little Rock Planning Commission and planning staff. My name is Troy Leahy. I'm Vice President of Southwest Little Rock United for Progress. The applicant or his representative was present at our meeting last Monday evening. And I questioned them quite a bit on what they had. They did not have a drainage plan. They did not have a landscape plan. They did not have a parking plan. And I heard today that they had been doing some clearing. I didn't think about asking them if they had a clearing permit. And we were opposed to this 100%. Unanimously, everyone there was opposed to this applicant putting in this used car lot. And further, they had a survey that they claimed was for them, but the name was not on the survey. The name is different on the survey than is on the applicant. And surveyors have a rule among themselves that they do not extend their survey to anyone except who is on the survey. That's the reason you see some of them has got the person's name on it. Some of them have a title company name on it, and some of them have the lender's name on it. But they do not extend their liability to anyone that's not on the survey. And that, if you noticed on the applicant, on the application, the copy that I received, it had one name, and other places it had a different name. And I understand from another person that had no connection with this applicant that that is common practice in some countries. But folks, we're living and operating in the United States of America. And some of us would have some pretty long names if we done what they do, where we have last name we normally have. They said they use their mother's name.
Whoa. Chairman Benton,
Yes.
this is your staff attorney. I'm not comfortable with the direction that this conversation's going in regards to last names and that type of thing.
I was just explaining that, Counselor. And
Yes.
I did not know about it myself, but it was explained to me that evening in the meeting. And I'll be happy to go over with you face to face at your convenience. That's
Understood.
all I have.
I have no problems with any of the comments made. It was on board, but when we start going into last people's names and those types of things, that makes me very uncomfortable.
Well, it made me very uncomfortable, and I think it ought to make the planning staff very uncomfortable.
I think that, Mr. Leahy, I think that this has nothing to do with an application, a person's name.
Who's talking?
I do think that you need to wrap up your comments and give the applicant an opportunity to come back and make a comment.
Okay. I'll take them on any way they want to come.
Would the applicant like to readdress before the vote?
Okay, the first thing is about the fence. We did not remove any fence. When we bought the property, it was like that. It had no fence at all. On both cases, where when the trees fell, we hired someone, and then we had to pay extra because they made us cut the tree in a certain size, so we wouldn't have any problem with the other people. And when we were told, we paid to a person that same day. And about the oil thing, we don't know nothing about oil. We don't do oil changes, or we actually have a mechanic, and we have already who's gonna do the body work, because we are gonna seal only ready-to-sell cars. We are not fixing cars. We have fixed cars, yes, but just our personal cars, not nobody's cars. We haven't had any profit out of it. We are not selling cars. And yeah, when we were notified about those trees, we took care of it on the same day. And it was these people we hire. We had to pay extra, even when they didn't work right. They know that. The people, they know that. There is no need for a draining plan as long as you only sell cars. So that's why we don't have a draining plan. And we have the person who's gonna do the parking lot. And we have no loan, so we don't need that. And I think that's all. I mean, we just want to do things right. If we get approved, like I said, we already have the people. If we need to fix the cars, because we are planning on buying ready-to-sell cars. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there any commissioner on either WebEx or in person have a question for the applicant? Hold your hand up.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I'm
Yes.
not for sure for the applicant or staff, but the applicant mentioned that there was a commercial entity across the street from her proposed property, and I wanted staff, I guess, to answer. Is there already a commercial business right across the street from this applicant?
It is, Commissioner, this is Director Collins. It is zoned C2 across the street. So that's what it was. The properties that are really at the northwest intersection of Mableville Cutoff and Geyer Springs are zones C3 and C2.
Can you share that map, Brad?
Pull up the map, please, the zoning map.
Sorry, I'm looking at the map. And so at the property directly across from this location, which would be closer to the Rinky Road intersection.
Yes, ma'am, I see it.
That huge lot directly across the street is zone commercial C2.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Staff's comments on, and the reason that we provided that for everybody's knowledge is if you really, and I've made it knowledgeable in our staff, we really need to look at when we look at rezonings, the purpose and intent of what C4 is originally done for. And so under 36-302 C4 Section A, the main purpose is really the appropriate locations. If you think what C4 is, it's open display. It's open display for sales, not only of vehicles, but also construction equipment. Think of like larger equipment, also track hoes, stuff like that. And really, you really want those oriented on large major roadways, arterials. Need to be heavily traveled to do so. And so that's what this is, and that's why we're not supporting it, is we do not believe that this is an intersection at this time that C4 needs to be. Lesser commercials, possibly for more maybe neighborhood commercial, those types of scenarios, but not C4. And a straight zoning of C4, it would be any C4 use that would be allowed.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Ready for a motion?
Yeah, Jamie, we're doing this on the land use plan first.
Yes, always, just for everybody's knowledge, especially for the commissioners that are new, because the state law, when you rezone a property or you produce an original zoning ordinance way beyond our time frame at the city, you have to do a land use, what you would like it to be first. before you pass any ordinance for zoning. So that is always a sequence presented for the planning commission and the board. You have to read and vote on the land use plan, whether it passes or fails, prior to voting on the zoning, rezoning of the property. That is order. So yes, when you read it, we will read the vote for item 6, the land use, followed by 6.1, which would be the zoning.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that for approval of item number 6, LU 2023-14-01, land use plan amendment, including all staff comments and recommendations except for the recommendation of denial.
Second. Moved and seconded. You ready for the roll call vote?
Benton,
No?
Brown,
No.
Hart,
No.
Haynes,
No.
Hodge,
No.
Latour,
No.
McDonald,
No.
Thomas, Vickers. Could you please repeat? Vogel,
No.
motion fails.
I think we had one more commissioner who joined.
It looks like we have Commissioner Whitaker now.
Aye.
Oh, Whitaker?
No.
Okay, motion fails.
Item 6.1.
We need to do item 6.1 now, even though you got a failure on the land use.
Yes, because you can actually, even though they do, that's be separate. I know it's redundant, but we still do separate item, so it needs a separate vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion for approval of item number 6.1, Z-9745, rezoning from R2 to C4, with all staff comments and conditions except for their recommendation of denial.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the roll call vote?
Benton,
No?
Brown,
No.
Hart,
No.
Haynes,
No.
Hodge,
No.
Latour,
No.
McDonald,
No.
Thomas, Vickers, Vogel,
No.
Whitaker.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. For the next, your motion failed. Item 17.
Item 17 is Moreno Event Center, PCD. It's located at 13008 West Markham Street. The applicant proposes to rezone the 0.61 acre property from O3 General Office District to PCD, Planned Commercial District, to allow for the use of an existing 3,606 square foot residential structure as an events venue. The property is located at 13,008 West Market Street at the southwest corner of West Market Street and Gamble Road. The property is currently developed, which contains the aforementioned structure. It has paved access. Has a paved access drive connecting to West Market Street along the north perimeter of the property and a chain link fence enclosing the rear, which is a south lawn area. The applicant proposes to host events such as weddings, receptions, birthday parties, business meetings, luncheons, and small get-togethers. The applicant proposes to have hours of operation for the office between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is Monday through Friday, and 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., Friday through Sunday for events. The applicant notes that there will be no ticketed events and that the structure has a current estimated maximum occupancy of 60. The applicant proposes to construct a new paved 15 15-space parking lot connecting to the existing paved access drive along the north perimeter of the property between the structure and West Market Street to the north. Staff believes the proposed number of parking spaces is not sufficient to support the 60-person maximum proposed occupancy for the proposed events venue. The applicant proposes to construct a new 20-foot by 40-foot pavilion in the rear, which is the south yard area of the property near the southwest corner of the site. The pavilion will be open air and have an area at the west end to permanently house a 16-foot food vending truck. The applicant notes that the proposed food vending truck will be permanently located at the pavilion and open to the public Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and available for any scheduled events Friday through Sunday from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. The applicant notes that alcohol and food service options will be made available on site for events per all applicable regulations. The applicant also notes that live music will be optional for the events and be required to conform to city sound ordinance regulations. The applicant notes that the existing chain link fence enclosing the rear south yard area of the property will be removed and a new decorative block privacy wall will be constructed as a sound barrier. The applicant provided responses and additional information to all issues raised during staff's review of the application. The applicant requested no variances with the proposed PCD, planned commercial development. Staff is not supportive of the requested PCD, planned commercial development, to allow the development of an event venue in the existing residential structure at 13008 West Market Street. Staff does not view the request as reasonable. The city's future land use plan shows a property and surrounding properties south of West Market Street as O, office, and RH, residential high density. The property is currently bordered by O3, office, and R2 residential uses on the adjacent properties to the west, east, and south, with large commercial zone properties to the north across West Markham Street. Staff believes that the proposed parking is insufficient to support the proposed occupancy of the structure, and the location of the proposed parking area shown on the submitted site plan does not allow for the required perimeter buffers and landscaping along the West Markham Street and Gamble Road corridors. Staff believes the proposed event center use is too intense for the site and that this small property is better suited for a small office or similar type use. Staff believes the intensity of the proposed use and the lack of off-street parking would have an adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends denial of the requested PCD zoning.
Is the applicant present? So please approach the podium. Identify yourself.
I'm Raul Moreno.
We did not receive any cards in opposition, so you have the floor. Go ahead. You may present your case, applicant.
Thank you. The lack of off-site parking, I don't believe that would be an issue. With the amount of parking that I'm proposing to put on site, that is going to be sufficient for the amount of folks that are going to be available to be on site at our event venue. And we want to make available the site to our clients in the back part of the property and also in the inside of the property available for them. Was there, I didn't catch any other issues of besides the parking. I'm a little bit hard of hearing.
I think he's asking staff for, beside the parking, were there other issues that staff had?
Yes, the other issue, I believe was the buffering along West Markham Street and also Gamble Street.
Would you like to address that? The buffer.
I don't understand where the buffer is an issue with in comparison with the parking that we're proposing. I don't believe that's an issue.
Can someone from staff enlighten the applicant what you're speaking of?
Well, it's the Commissioner, this is Director Collins again. It boils down really to not just the parking. If you notice it's also the intensity is the number of parking. Estimated maximum is what they listed as 60. And also with the food truck located in the back, do we have a site plan that we can show everybody? So they kind of see and understand. So orientation to the north or the top of the screen is Markham. Bowman is over on your right-hand side or the east side. If you look where the food truck is to be located, that is on the southern portion of the site. And if you look at where all of the parking is located, they're showing that parking right there against Markham. Well, for the landscaping, you have to have a buffer between the right-of-way of Markham and the parking lot that's on there. And the intent of that is to not only just break up what you're seeing when a vehicle's parked, but also from the headlights that are coming in. So that's the landscaping buffer on that side. And if you look at the other side, which is the Gamble side, I'm sorry, I said Bowman earlier, I believe, but the Gamble side, that has currently been improved by the city. And one of the other concerns, and that's what we talk about access and the intensity, is currently right now, that's a retaining wall that comes and ends right there at that intersection, kind of tapers out before it gets to handicap ramps. I think, Brad, if you was that walk through picture that you shown, did it kind of, how current was that? So how are you accessing the back of the property? How are people accessing the food truck in the area? If you say that the maximum is going to be 60, I mean, how many people is going to be in a vehicle? That doesn't appear to, that's going to account for the number of parking stalls provided. So with all those, I think that's what we're explaining, the buffer, the intensity, the access, while we're not supportive of that use at that corner.
Any reply? An applicant?
If I could ask for a deferral at this time?
Asking for a deferral? Staff, can we go ahead and approve that?
Yes, the applicant can ask for a deferral. That is there, but it'd be up to the Planning Commission to accept that and actually make a motion for that instead of a vote. As Mr. Overton, is that the correct procedure?
That is the correct procedure, and we need to make it abundantly clear to the applicant that if he chooses to defer, then it will be at his cost. He's going to have to renotice everyone so that everyone has an opportunity to come before this board and either agree with this applicant or oppose the applicant.
That's correct. I'll make that clear right now. Per our bylaws, you're given so many deferrals before it is dismissed from this commission. If you request deferral, that goes against that count, and it will be your responsibility to re-notify everybody on the deferred date. So you will need to make a decision on the time frame for that deferral. It could be the next meeting. It could be any other meeting in the future months coming up, but it can't be extended for like a year. It needs to be readily deferred. So you could defer it to our next meeting, which would be our April meeting, or defer it to the March meeting.
I understand. I believe we'll defer for the next meeting, the upcoming meeting.
Okay, so to go on record, they have requested the deferral for the April Planning Commission meeting. So that would be the motion at the chair or the board would need, or the commission would need to make.
Yes, sir,
Chairman, I move that we permit, oh, I'm sorry, somebody else.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Commissioner Hodge, go ahead.
I apologize. I move that we permit the applicant to defer until to the April 2023 meeting.
Okay. And motion made, second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the applicants to defer to the April meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas, Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
See y'all next month.
Is that everyone? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda for the meeting. Are there any citizen have any citizen remarks?
I believe we have two more items
18?
on the regular, number 8 and 18.
Wait a minute. I don't have
Items 8 and 18.
18?
Items 8
Okay.
and 18.
8 and 18, okay. Go ahead.
Item 8 is the Little Rock West High School, POD. It's located at 5619 Ranch Drive. The applicants are requesting to rezone the existing lots and parcels from a combination of POD O2 and R2 zonings to POD, Planned Office Development, to allow the construction of a new high school facility. The proposal also includes the improvements such as extending an internal access drives and enlargement of parking areas on the main campus area and around an existing sports facility. The request to revise POD and rezoning also includes a replat to combine the existing lots numbers 1, 2, and 3 along an existing unplatted 39.80 acre parcel to the east of the existing campus, which currently contains a sports facility. The existing lots contain an existing 56 classroom middle school facility, which will remain operational during the construction process to accommodate approximately 110 staff and up to 1,000 students. The site plan indicates a new high school facility located in the east portion of the campus adjacent to the existing structures to the west. The new building is proposed to contain 54 new classrooms to accommodate approximately 1,200 new students and 80 staff members. The proposed structure will connect the existing gymnasium structure and extend east towards the existing sports facility, north towards a parking area, and south towards Ranch Drive. The site plan indicates the structure will be set back over 200 feet from the rear, which is the north property line, over 160 feet from the front, the south property line, and approximately 600 feet from the east and west property lines. The site plan also indicates new improvements to the site, including 8 new parking areas, internal streets, circulation lanes for student drop-off and pickup, and separate bus loading drive lanes adjacent to the buildings along Ranch Drive. The new internal drives are proposed to run in a northerly and westerly circulation pattern around the structures and connect to existing drives which connect to Ranch Drive. The site plan shows multiple new parking areas, including 132 space parking area to be located immediately west of the existing middle school building, a 32 space parking area with a drop-off lane located south of the existing gym, a 174 space parking area north, and a 110 space parking area south of the new high school facility. The site plan also indicates a new 329 space parking area to the northwest of the sports facility, along with 132 space parking area to the east. The new proposed parking areas will include a total of 909 new parking spaces. There is also, site plan also shows construction of of a new baseball and softball complex within the most eastern portion of the site. The complex includes 2 separate new ball fields with grandstands and press box concession structures. The ball fields will be located adjacent to the proposed perimeter buffers bordering the existing ball fields. The ball fields will be located adjacent to the proposed perimeter buffers bordering existing undeveloped R2 residentially zoned areas to the east and undeveloped POD planned office developments to the south. The applicant proposes the inclusion of buffers along the north, east, and south perimeters of the site adjacent to the R2 residentially zoned properties. The site plan indicates the enlargement and replanting of an existing buffer located at the northern intersection of tract L2-R, containing the school buildings and the 39.80 acre tract containing the sports facility. The applicant states the area will be regraded, trees to be replaced with full evergreen trees, 1.5 inches in caliber. Existing dead trees shall be replaced to create a similar landscape screen as desired. The site plan also shows 100-foot continuous perimeter buffer along the border of the 39.80 acre tract containing the sports facility. The applicant notes on the site plan that an additional buffer in an undulating manner to compensate for reduced buffer areas along the north and east perimeters of the tract with additional landscape areas adjacent to the proposed baseball, softball field complex. The applicant states the following regarding the buffers. This will be a combination of evergreen, full to the ground trees, 1.5 inches in caliber, and linear shade trees, 2.5 inches in caliber, and groves of ornamental trees and additional landscape requirements will be provided at the locations adjacent to the residentially zoned properties. The proposal also includes the abandonment of these additional easements located between Ranch Drive and the northern property lines of the development within tracts L1-R, L2-R, and L3-R. There are 4 bullet points that shows the easements that are proposed to be abandoned. I won't read those at this time, but the easement abandonments proposal will be applied for separately to the Board of Directors following approval of the requested POD by the Planning Commission. Staff is supportive of the requested POD zoning to allow construction of a new high school facility, including all site improvements. Staff feels that the expansion of the campus and proposed use of the property will have a positive impact on the general area and have no adverse impact on the surrounding residential properties. Staff recommends approval of the requested POD planned office development, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Good afternoon. I'm Josh Minton with Minton Engineering. I'm the civil engineer on this project representing Little Rock School District. Also have John McMorden with Lewis Architects here. We'd be happy to.
Before you get started, I'll give you the option of going ahead and presenting first, or if you want the opposition to present, you may, and come back and reply.
Okay.
You have the choice.
We'd be happy to address any opposition concerns that they have. So.
Thank you. We have 3 cards in opposition. First is Kelly Bentz.
Good evening. All I can say is I live at 69 Ranch Ridge where this is going to be built, and wow, would you like this in your backyard? Right now, Pinnacle View Schools football stadium or ball field is directly behind our backyard. It is so loud during the football games, I can hear them inside my house. I do oppose this school building there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that K. York or Fay York? Fay York. Fay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here about item 18. First, I didn't understand why it wasn't read.
You hear about item 18?
Item 18,
We're not discussing 18.
I'm sorry?
We're not discussing 18.
That'll be
You
next.
called my name.
Okay, then I did an error. I apologize.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much. See here, Chris Savello. It's 8. Chris Savello. Not here?
He said he's all good. He don't have any comments.
Okay, thank you. I did have one in support, and then I'll let the applicant come up. Ed Willis? In support?
Members of the Planning Commission, I'm Ed Willis. I'm the president of Ranch Properties, Inc., which has been the developer of the ranch for the last 30 years. Gene Pfeiffer is the major property owner that's the most affected by this development. And he and I have discussed this in detail, and we feel that we want to be a welcoming and supportive entity for this school. We think the school is needed at West Little Rock High School. We think that the Little Rock School District needs this school. We do want to enhance some of the plans for this that we have included in 2 letters that you should have received. One from Mr. Pfeiffer and one from me. Those are outlined in those letters, and those are the things that we want to put into the record that would be commitments that would be made by the Little Rock School District in the city of Little Rock that would be perpetual, that would not be something that would be changed at some later date. Those items are this is my letter that you received, and those are the items that we want to be carefully looked at, addressed, and agreed to. And if so, I think that speaking for Mr. Pfeiffer, for Ranch Properties, Inc., and for the POA, that we think that this is the best use for this property. And we've known for a long time that it was going to be for a school. We just now have got the plans for it and have been able to see what it is. But be happy to discuss each and every item in this. You have it. Hopefully you've read it. And if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to give you my response.
Does any commissioner have any questions as a respondent?
Yes, Commissioner Benton?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Vickers. And I did get a chance to look over the property and see, see it. I think it'll be a great addition to the school. I think definitely for the children, for the school, as well as the stadium and other amenities. Just reviewing and looking at the pond out there and preserving, the pond and other amenities. I do not feel that there's anything outside of the scope of what's needed. I think out there as part of the school district, i.e. the city as well, to actually get some of these smaller things actually done for the protection of the students, as well as protection of the property owners and neighbors that's in the community. So I looked at it. I think they had 5 different points, and I think that, those minor things such as the security fence to protect the owners as well as protect the students, I think is almost necessary and should be, in the plans of the building once the construction and everything is started. So I didn't see anything outside of the scope of it. And I think these minor items definitely should be awarded, to this addition once the construction or the start of the construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vickers. Are there any other commissioners with any questions or comment?
Chairman Benton, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead. I see a commissioner with the hand raised. I'll withhold my comments till the other commissioners' questions are asked.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ms. Hodge has.
Ms. Hodge?
Yes,
Commissioner Hodge?
I wanted to, I think, echo Commissioner Vickers' comments and ask, I guess, staff or maybe our council in the materials that we received. I think everybody agrees that this project is needed and I'm in support of it, but we were provided some documents that included limitations that were imposed on the ball field that were included when Joe T. Robinson was built. We've heard at least one resident talk about the volume. There were some concerns with lighting, and Commissioner Vicker mentioned security fencing. What is the mechanism for including those restrictions? I guess not really restrictions, but safety precautions in this application. Is that an option? I mean, we received them, we read them. I think they're a good idea, but they're not in the application.
Commissioner Hodge? Commissioner Hodge, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
That was what I was going to address. Thank you for the question. I'm not sure if the application got this package. So that's the first question I have. Did the applicant receive this letter and had a time to review it?
Mr. Overton, this is Director Collins. The answer is no. We did not receive those until later in the application. They are not listed as conditions that were put on there. If they are to be considered, that we have to speak with the applicant. It cannot be done at the podium to where it may be seen as under duress to obtain the commission's vote, although I do understand the conditions. I think that, one, if we're going to consider these, the applicant needs to be made aware of those conditions. They need to be read into the record before we proceed. And two, we need to have an understanding of what the applicant sees in those conditions before we have any further discussions on what a commissioner may or may not vote on.
Understood.
Thank you. Let's proceed with the applicants.
Okay, so if we could, Chair, I would like our staff, I think they do have a copy of those letters. Or if not, Mr. Willis has one with him. We can just grab one of those.
The correspondence folder was emailed. The letters that the citizen spoke of last time is in the correspondence folder under the Z number. This is Z4343-NN. Please refer to the correspondence folder emailed to you earlier today.
Mr. Thrower, I was talking that we need to read them in before we continue the discussion. So do you have a copy with you?
No, sir. I have to get pull it up on the iPad here. I'm sorry for misunderstanding.
Give us a moment. We'll get that pulled up and read it.
Chair, I have a question. Point of information, I'm looking at the correspondence folder right now, and there are letters from the two citizens who spoke up with concerns, but I do not see any conditions listed in here specifically. So I don't know that we have access to that at this point.
That's all we have is the letters that the gentleman was referring to regarding any conditions that he spoke of will be addressed in the letters that we're pulling up now for reading.
Also had one statement, if I may.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes, there was also a concern about any landscaping that would be removed near the pond. Would drainage affect the property surrounding that area? So I believe I remembered reading that in another letter that was sent out, Mr. Pfeiffer's. So I just wanted to kind of voice that as well.
I had to step out for a minute, Chair, if you excuse me. Did we start reading the conditions?
Mr. Chair, I've got them.
Yeah. Anybody can read the conditions. We just need to read them in record so the applicant can hear them.
Okay.
And then we'll bring the applicant up and have a discussion.
All right. This is from a letter on the letterhead, The Ranch, dated March 8th, 2023, and it was sent to me as a member of the commission. So it says, we want to secure the same permanent City of Little Rock commitments as those contained in Gene Pfeiffer's March 7th, 2023 letter to you regarding the following items shown on the sketch map and to be permanent commitments and conditions of the POD. Number one, existing pond to be preserved in perpetuity as a site amenity. Number two, buffer widths and planned landscape tree areas to be planted, maintained, and replaced as needed. Number three, parking lot lighting, ball field lighting, and public address systems to meet or exceed those installed at Joe T. Robinson High School. See second attachment. Number four, security fence. Both the school and the adjoining residential property owners need an 8-foot black or dark green metal chain link fence installed along the west, northeast, and south property lines to provide security for their respective properties. Good fences make good neighbors. The existing Pinnacle View Middle School has a 6-foot wood privacy fence along its north property line that has had to be replaced in several locations because it is wood, which deteriorates over time, which means the fence needs to be a metal chain link or wrought iron to save Little Rock School District future maintenance. Number five, while the lake is a site amenity, after hours it is an attractive nuisance which has already attracted loitering and littering. It needs to be inaccessible after hours when there are no school activities scheduled. An electric control gate could be installed with clickers distributed to dumpster operator, maintenance personnel, security, etc. If properly placed, it would prevent unauthorized access to the pond and the vast northern parking areas that will become a nuisance. The large north parking lot should be secured with gates on the 2 access driveways to be closed at night. Currently, vehicles at the pond shine their bright lights up to the residential area, and the area around the pond gets trashed with beer cans, pizza boxes, etc. Access to the north parking lot should be restricted when sporting events aren't taking place. Otherwise, the large parking lot on the northwest corner will turn into a hangout spot for undesirable activities. Ranch residents and Gene Pfeiffer intend to be welcoming and supportive neighbors to the school, and the above will make the school a good neighbor to us. Sincerely, Ed K. Willis.
Okay, applicant, if you would please come up to the podium.
To speak to the noise issue for the football field.
Raise your mic up, please. First, before we do this, I mean, essentially, there's been conditions that's been offered
Okay.
by somebody other than staff. Currently, your applications do not have those conditions. You heard me speak earlier about we do not do those conditions at the podium. You are not obligated to do that under duress to obtain any of that. That's why we're holding off on any conversations with the commissioners right now. So if those are offered, you have to have time to understand them and either agree or modify or do what you need to do for those. But currently, as it stands, those conditions are not in your applications. You know, so addressing them, we can't address them until you understand they either going to be in there, or you're going to agree to certain conditions, but it cannot be that we are making you agree to those. I'm just letting you understand right now that those are not conditions part of that. You have an option to defer your applications to get those and understand those and offer something different or offer nothing different than what you've applied for. So y'all need to understand that right now the application does not have those. And so do you defer to get those, or do you want to proceed with what we have?
Are you saying we can add those now, or they have to be added to the plan?
Well, you can add those now, but you do not want to add those, and we're not going to make you add those to feel that you are having to add those to obtain a commissioner's vote.
And I think we're meeting a lot of these already. As far as the existing pond, we're going to maintain the pond.
Okay, and I'm just letting you be aware of that.
Yes.
I don't know if Mr. Overton made it back on. He's listening on my phone. He kind of got dropped off, so he's already kind of told me what we need to look at. So essentially, with that understanding, if you want to address each of the points of what you're looking at, maybe that will suffice on that. But I just wanted to make that point for everybody in the room and the commissioners.
Yeah, our intention is to maintain the existing pond. It will be actually improved a little bit. We're going to put an outflow structure. Currently, it just kind of overflows over the levee. So we're going to maintain the pond and actually improve the existing outflow of the pond. The buffers, we have all the buffers outlined on our plan. We're showing to keep the 100-foot buffer over the vast majority of that 40-acre tract that was approved in the conditional use permit when the ball field was approved, except for a portion next to the future baseball and softball fields. The third item, I believe, was had to do with sound and lighting to match Joe T. Robinson. I'm not sure.
We're not completely familiar with what the requirements were for Joe T. Robinson, but typical lighting for ball fields is to control the light, not let it bleed.
This might help you. This was also sent as the exhibit. They have it. That's what was in the PCD for Joe T. Robinson. It's that area.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment while he's?
Yes.
Go to the next one. Let me look at this.
Yeah, while you're reviewing that, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a comment about this application, which has been recommended for approval by staff. And I did get a call from Mr. Pfeiffer yesterday, who is the property owner, I guess, just to the south of this. And so this letter dated today, presented by Mr. Willis, was dated March 8th, and it had not been presented to the applicant. So this is a awkward way to bring about changes to an application that otherwise has staff's approval and is pretty much teed up to be approved by the commission. So I don't, to me, the way I'm approaching this, just as one commissioner tonight, is to take a look at this list and say, okay, Mr. Willis and Mr. Pfeiffer, if you want to get with the school district after our vote and see how many of these things they acquiesce to or you can agree to, that's fine, but I do not feel comfortable trying to either A, getting the school district to defer, because that's another 30 days that they lose on their time schedule, or B, trying to incorporate these things into the application. I mean, number one, existing pond to be preserved in perpetuity. That is, I think that's forever. So that's not something I think is fair to add to an amendment tonight. So I appreciate the applicant trying to address all of these quickly and talk about the PA system at Robinson. But the reality is I think the fairest thing to do and the thing that I would like to do is move forward with a motion and see what the commissioners think with the way the application has been presented. Again, if this letter had been presented to the applicant on February 8th instead of March 8th, I might be singing a different tune right now, but this is awfully late in the game to try to bring these up to the school district. So that's just a comment I would make and a position that I hold, Mr. Chairman.
Okay? Not quite yet, sir. Hold a minute. Any other commissioner have any comments? Yes.
Well, just one quick comment. Having done some work in higher ed, I don't know that it's reasonable to, I don't even know, do the applicants that are here tonight even have the authority to agree to these conditions? Because it's owned by the school district, and knowing how education works, I mean, they could say okay, and somebody else could say no way. So I don't know if it makes sense to even take that into consideration.
Right. It would be good to hear from the applicant to see how the applicant feels about these things before anybody else speaks.
Well, I think the school district wants to be good neighbors with everybody, and we want to try to address all these comments the best we can. And, you know, I agree if we had had this a little bit earlier, we could have had something prepared, maybe had something shown on the plan, but we're trying to work through it right now.
We knew nothing about this.
Please let the applicant speak.
Okay, so just looking at each one of them, the pond is currently in place and going to be cleaned up. The buffers are being maintained and actually increased in certain areas. Ball field lighting and PA systems, it's pretty standard to protect the areas around. Security fence is a part of the conversation. And then the school will have security with the developed area around the pond and near the pond, and that's part of the site. We'll have security cameras and other things like that. So as far as what they're experiencing now with beer cans and pizza boxes, we can't necessarily speak that that'll never happen again, but there will be security in place, security cameras in place to help maintain that. So as far as what's in the plans and the submission that you guys have had a chance to review, that's how I would address these comments at this stage. Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just clarify, I mean, they all may be great ideas. I think the idea of the fence is, but again, at this hour, it just, if all of our applications went this way, we would never get any work done for the city. So now, Mr. Willis may say, well, he may have an argument to make, but this letter, a letter dated March 8th for a planning commission meeting on March the 9th is like I say, that's just my opinion on that.
We're not asking for a decision tonight, period. We didn't know, we had no knowledge of this at all until we got the write-up last Thursday. We have done all of this work in those days. The applicant did not ever come to us to discuss this project, and we knew nothing about it until last Friday. We've done this as quickly as we could. I wish I didn't have to have spent the last 3 days working on this. That's pretty much what I've done. Totally agree. I don't think there should be a decision. We didn't come asking for a decision tonight. We've come to say that we support this school. We have the little that we know, we think is a well-needed facility. But if it's going to be at the ranch, we have to consider our residents and the effects of that. We have 2 schools already at the ranch. We have Pinnacle View Middle School, and we have the Arkansas Baptist Prep. We have a lot of experience with schools and how they have to relate to neighbors, of PA systems and everything else. So this is the reason that we have brought this. We have no problem at all sitting down at any time with the applicant, but we want you to know what our thoughts are regarding this, and you're asking Are we opposed to it or are we in favor of it? Basically, conceptually, we want to be a good neighbor to this school. We also want the school to be a good neighbor to us. And we think these things that we have outlined are things that would be acceptable to the residents so that there would not be opposition. We're not looking for opposition, and we'd be happy to sit down with the school architect. We're very familiar working with schools. We've worked with 2 of them that are located at the ranch now. Plus there is an elementary school and another private school that's very close. So we have had no time to be able to talk to you. We wish you had come and talked to us, and we could have done this a couple of weeks ago or whatever.
Okay, we have applicant.
I think I should at least comment a little bit. So I did have a conversation with Mr. Pfeiffer that was really on the right after we had our first public forum meeting on the campus, open to anybody and everybody. And that was a few months ago. And so we had a series of meetings with the community before we ever submitted to the city for this review. So we did, Mr. Pfeiffer did mention a little bit about the pond. At that time, the pond was really in question in some of the early preliminaries. We had a great conversation. He expressed his support at that time. Mr. Willis did not get a chance to talk to you ahead of time, so apologize for that, and would, I think, be more than happy to sit down and address some of these concerns.
Commissioner Hodge.
Oh, I think the applicant answered part of my question. So I just have a quick comment and a quick question. I agree with Commissioner Hart. I don't want to delay the vote on anything. And I thank the applicant for clearing up their position on some of these bullet points. And I wanted to know whether or not the applicant had talked to anybody in any of the residents around, and I hear that they have. Just one quick comment. There isn't contact information in the public agenda. So once the formal plans come out, how are members of the community to talk to the representative before the meeting so the applicant isn't blindsided? You know, there isn't, Mr. Mitten's contact information, telephone or email isn't in the report. So that's it, but I think we should vote.
Any other comments? Jamie?
Yes. Go ahead.
Commissioner?
I just wanted to clarify before we take the vote that this is for the application at present. No other conditions that are presented other than what staff has presented is for the vote. That the stuff that was presented by Mr. Willis for them is only recommendations for the applicant. That is not a condition place for this development for the vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Vickers?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, Commissioner Vickers. This is more directed to the staff. Staff, can the applicant request deferral for the next meeting? Just in case, I just don't want, I think this is a good project for the school, but I also definitely not only looking out for the students and the school district, but also looking out for the citizens and the neighbors of the community. Is there a way that the applicant can defer to next meeting just so this can get on the agenda based upon of what the citizens are saying or the information, the lack of that they did not know at the particular time?
Yes, it is always, as we heard previously in the afternoon, the applicant can request a deferral. It will be at their expense for re-notifications and everything, but that is an option for them to decide.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's all, Chairman. Thank you.
Well, to clarify that question, I think it'd be wise to ask the applicant, are you seeking a deferral? It's not something we're asking you to do.
We are not. We're not. With the public meetings ahead of time, open to everybody and anybody around, and no.
Thank you. Ready for the motion?
No further discussion? No. Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that for approval of item number 8, Z4343-NN, Little Rock West High School POD, with all of staff's conditions and comments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. May we call the roll call vote, please?
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas, Vickers, Vogel,
No.
Whitaker,
No.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Move to the next item, 18.
Item 18, lots 8R and 9R, Block 271, Original City of Little Rock, lot recombination replat. It's located at 1516 South Chester Street. The applicant proposes to recombine or replat portions of 2 platted lots into 2 lots for the development of 2 single-family residences. The property is currently 1 ownership, 1 Pulaski County parcel number. The property is currently undeveloped. Remnants of an old concrete driveway are located at the southwest corner of the property. An undeveloped alley right-of-way is located along the north property line. The applicant is proposing 25-foot front and rear setbacks and 5-foot side setbacks. The proposed setbacks will comply with ordinance standards. The applicants are requesting 2 variances with the proposed lot recombination. Section 36-256D4 of the city's zoning ordinance requires a minimum lot area of 7,000 square feet for R4 zone lots. As noted above, Lot 8R will contain approximately 3,744 square feet, and Lot 9R will contain approximately 5,740 square feet. Staff is supportive of the requested variance. Section 36-256D4 requires a minimum lot width of 70 feet for R4 zone lots. The applicant is requesting a lot width of 37.39 feet for Lot 8R and 37.40 for Lot 9R. Staff is supportive of the requested variance. Staff is supportive of the requested lot recombination replat to create lots 8R and 9R, Block 271, Original City of Little Rock. Staff views the request as reasonable. Although the property is zoned R4, the applicant is planning to develop single-family residences on the 2 lots. There are existing lots of record within this block and within the overall neighborhood area which are similar in size or smaller than the 2 lots proposed, 2 proposed recombined lots, Staff believes the proposed replat will provide a good opportunity for infill development, which should have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the requested replat, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, and we understand there is an opposition, and we would like to yield and allow that person to speak first.
Thank you. Ms. York?
Good afternoon, everybody, again. My opposition is that I didn't have a understanding as to what exactly was going on. As far as I know, the 2 blocks, 8R and 9R, it's only 1 vacant lot there. So I'm trying to figure out, are you going to tear down the home that's on the corner of 16th and Chester, or are you just gonna split the vacant lot? And how it's abutting up to my property on the backside? So I wanted to know how it's gonna affect the sewer system, the water line, and how many units actually are you gonna put there? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you the third house from the corner?
Everything has to be addressed to the commission.
Okay, I'm trying to understand where she's at.
Okay.
So the intent, as stated by staff, is that the existing lot, it's not on the corner, but it's an existing lot, one house off of the corner, that we take that lot and divide it into 2 lots for 2 single-family detached homes.
Okay, are they both gonna face Chester?
They will both face Chester. They will both have a garage and a driveway off of Chester Street.
Okay, what is this? This is where it's touching my property?
That is just the back of the property as it meets yours.
It may be a lot clearer because the commissioner does not really understand the applicant what you're saying. May I suggest you go ahead and present what you want to present, and then
Yes, we can.
maybe it'd be good to pull the opposition off to the side and answer those questions.
Okay. So as stated,
What he's talking about, you have to get to the mic because we're also recording everything.
So as stated, we simply want to divide, as staff stated, we want to divide the single lot as already other lots exist on this block. We just want to make 2 smaller lots. So the 2 new houses, single-family detached, they're not duplexes, they're single-family detached. They will have garage and off-street parking with the characteristic of the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay. Any commissioner have questions of the applicant? Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion for the approval of item S-1499-S, lots 8R and 9R, original City of Little Rock, with all of staff's conditions and comments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ready for roll call vote?
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge. Mr. Hodge. Mature,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas, Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda is finished. Are there any public comments? There being none, we move to item 19.
Yes, and this will be pretty quick for item 19. And it's just a discussion item that we talk about the WebEx and continuance. Everybody received a explanation sent out of what we probably need to do for the WebEx, just for everybody and the public's notification. We started the WebEx because of the pandemic. As usual, we needed to keep operations going. The Planning Commission is one of the vital commissions that is needed for the operation of the city, for the development of the city. So we had to come up with a way to do it. So the commission did not have a vote or say so in that at that time, as we was having to get this commission back operational. So the city as a whole chose WebEx as underneath that emergency proclamation. So we proceeded. And we worked through several issues trying to get how we operate. And the board went through those same issues. That's why we meet where the board meets to do so. And so I agree with a lot of the comments too, that whether we need to continue it or not, I believe that is going to be up to the commission. So that's why I set a time frame out for as how we operate now. We'll end at a certain time frame. Didn't want to put it out there too short, give the commission enough time to think about it and discuss it. My only comment is that the commission does need to vote whether you're going to have a WebEx or not. And in doing so, if approved, then we need to discuss how those procedures are. And because our procedures here, and we never amended our bylaws will need to be amended to reflect how our WebEx operation is to continue. And I think that is the only prudent thing to do so everybody knows kind of the procedures that we're going to go through to operate. And you can put in any, I think there was suggestions that Commissioner Whitaker make about how we monitor that. Everything is done by staff, and we try to make everybody aware of stuff that's happening. But there's definitely room for improvement on anything that we do. And so I would just leave that to the commission. You don't have to make a vote tonight of what you would like to do, but I would suggest before that time frame, maybe the next meeting, they put that as an item to make a decision on and proceed so that we can get this took care of hopefully by that June timeframe. And I'd be happy to answer any questions any of the commissioners may have.
Any commissioner have a question?
I got a question. This is probably more for Brad. Most of these tools have things like hand-raising functions. Does this instance have that? Because I see something here that does that, but how does the who's raised hands in what order come up on the WebEx tool that we use?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Brown. We actually were discussing that prior to the meeting, and there is a function in which you can raise your hand. And I know a lot of the commissioners, and I see them up here raising their hand, just themselves physically. But there is a feature, and I'm not sure if you're on your laptop. I don't know. Functionally how you do that, but I know that on the iPads you can easily do it. I think there's a little smiley face down at the very bottom of the screen that you can punch that, and it has a lot of different options, and raising your hand is one of them. So yes, sir, there are different functionalities that we could utilize if you guys decide to go forward with this in the future.
Okay, just to steer the conversation a little bit, I do think that one thing we can do tonight is accept a motion as to whether we will continue to have these hybrid meetings, and that's WebEx as well as in person. First, before we have that vote or motion, does any commissioner have any comment on that? And that is whether we should continue the same format, both in person and by WebEx. Are you for it or against it? I'll take a motion.
I started the whole discussion, so you know where I am. You want me to go ahead and make that motion, and I think everybody
Yes, sir.
knows where they're going to land. Okay, I would make the motion that the Little Rock Planning Commission continue the WebEx hybrid meetings going forward.
Okay.
Second.
Ready for roll call vote?
Benton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
No.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge. Commissioner Hodge. Mature,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas, Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the next item deals with how we go about doing this. First off, we need to go through the bylaws at some point, Jamie, and
Yeah, I think that was something that staff would do, and I've talked with Mr. Overton. Really, we need to look at that on how we proceed and put it together, and how commissioners would raise their hands and who's going to recognize them and keep tabs on them. It can be staff. It doesn't necessarily have to be staff, but we need to make sure everybody understands how we're going to do that. We need to put that in our bylaws. And so we would work through that. Now that y'all voted for that, that would be our next step. So at the next meeting, staff will present all those, kind of a suggestion. It won't be a mandate. We're just kind of going to present the commission what we would suggest they would be, that we can modify for that. We'll also send that out ahead of time, just in case y'all might want to chime in before we come to the meeting. So I'm not going to wait till the day of. You'll get it earlier, so you can kind of look at it. And then we also need to look at, just technical-wise, make sure everybody is trained and knowledgeable, as Commissioner Brown spoke of, kind of how you raise your hand, where you're at on the different platforms for that. I would also suggest that any commissioner that is going to operate remotely, they do need to be at a certain standard of access with internet, because there is times that we've seen that commissioners get on, and we actually seen it today. Commissioner Whitaker had an issue with getting on, and Commissioner McDonald. Some of that when you're able to get on, but you can't get through, it's your location, it's your internet access, it's the equipment. It's not necessarily the WebEx. It's just not letting you get through to the meeting. And we want to make sure that everybody has and I'll get with IT, kind of let everybody know what their requirement needs to be. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be at a gig speed, but we're going to get a minimum requirement that we all need to be if ones are going to be operating remotely, at a minimum. And I don't think that we've done that yet, and I think that we do need to do that to make sure everybody is at that same level. So we'll present that at the next meeting, if we may. And I will commit to getting it out at least a couple of weeks before, so we can start having conversations prior to that.
Very good. We've heard that, and I agree. I'm sure we all agree with that, and that a motion is not required for that.
No, sir, it is not. We already directed that we are going to continue, so we will start making those changes.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
No one's going to second it?
Second. Second, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, second.